Hi everyone, Jon Mitchell here, Mayor of New Bedford, and this is another installment of the Mayor's Weekly Update. So I have three things to cover this week. The first is something that I think everybody's heard about by now, which was the shooting of a police detective in the Goulart Square neighborhood on Monday. This was, to say the least, a very unfortunate incident. He was not targeted, but he was caught in the crossfire between two groups, evidently, but it was a really close call for him. He ultimately had a bullet lodged literally in his face, and he's going to be okay. He's going to be fine. That's the main thing. But it could have ended a lot differently in a matter of centimeters. So a number of takeaways here. First, we will catch the guy who did it. We've engaged in a very strenuous investigation right now, led by our police department, but also with the assistance of federal and state law enforcement as well. So that will be run to ground. Second, I will say this: it highlights for me and for everybody the risks associated with policing in any city. Right? We've talked about crime in the city and where New Bedford stands and so forth, and although we've made a lot of progress over the years, we still have work to do, and we're committed to it. But it means that police officers will continue to take risks, and we certainly appreciate what they do. We need to let that appreciation be known. And over the last few years, there's been we've had a problem, along with many other cities, in recruiting people to the profession. We want to make sure everybody's clear that what police do is really important. It's really the foundation for civilized society, and they go out there every day and put themselves at risk. And this week was a stark reminder of that. The other thing I'll just say is that we will continue to invest as we have in the police department. Last week we announced some major increases in compensation for our police officers and benefits so that we can continue to recruit and retain officers primarily. We're investing also in equipment, body cameras, weapons, tasers, cameras, cruisers. You will see more of that in the weeks and months ahead. A lot of these investments are starting to come to fruition. So we're committed to giving our police the tools that will enable them to be effective. The last thing I want to say about it is I encourage everybody anybody who may have some knowledge of this incident to come forward with information. It's always a good thing when we have witnesses come forward with information so that we can build a stronger case and deter similar conduct in the future. It's not to say that our police department doesn't have active leads that they're working. They do. It's not like they're groping in the dark, but there's always information out there that people can bring forward. And so I just encourage people to do that, so the risk of something like this happening again will be much lower. The second thing I wanted to talk about this week is the proposed ban on the sale of nip bottles. That is before the licensing board. The licensing board will be taking that up next week. It's something that I favor. I've heard it from countless people around the city that the nips constitute a disproportionate source of the litter on the streets. They really do make a mess, but they also contribute to public drunkenness and vagrancy around certain liquor stores. Many other places have banned nips, including Fairhaven not too long ago, and so it's something that I support. And I hope people speak out and let their voices be heard, especially all those people who spend time, as frankly I do, going out and picking these things up off the street. They're really in many neighborhoods across the city, and we would become a much cleaner city, I think, if they weren't sold here in New Bedford. The last thing I just want to say is that this week we also had a ribbon cutting at PACE's new facility. PACE stands for People Acting in Community Endeavors. PACE is a nonprofit organization that provides services to people in need. They range from housing to the Head Start program for pre-K kids, for young children, to home heating assistance as well, as food assistance. And they have a new facility now, thanks to funding that we directed to them on Park Street, right next to Saunders Funeral Home. It's the former Andrews Dayhill VFW post, which closed a few years ago. I think it's a very advantageous place for them to be, to get food out to people who need it. And I just want to congratulate them, their leader Pam Keechler, and their entire staff for putting this together and for all the work that they do. We're pleased to support it, and we hope that in so doing, we will see more people get the services and the goods they need to keep their lives going. Well, with all that, this has been the Mayor's Weekly Update. We'll see you next week.